Well, a very interesting weekend of baseball. Now, the Blue Jays sit 1-1 in the series with the Dodgers. How can they do heading back to LA?
You are Locked On Blue Jays, your daily Toronto Blue Jays podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to Locked On Blue Jays. Thank you for making Locked On Blue Jays your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Today's episode brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. A lot to talk about. I think you guys have seen a lot of us lately. We've done a lot of bonus stuff, a lot of live streams. You know where we sit with a lot of this, but we had some time to digest everything. We have had time now to think back over the weekend and come up with some of the big takeaways, the big things that we can now carry into the next 3 games with this team. We're going to talk a little bit about Bichette being back at second base because, it's a big storyline. It's been talked about a lot. Mad Max gets the start. I have to talk about that as well and just how he matches up against Glass now. Game 3 preview on its way as well, so stick around. We got tons of content for you guys today. We were a little banged up on the weekend. That was an interesting sort of craziness that was Saturday night into Sunday's morning's podcast. So we appreciate all of you guys tuning in for all of that. I'm Brayden Wasco. He's Carter First. Brayden 5 Wasco, Carter First 2 on Twitter, as well as Locked On Jays. You can find us on Instagram and TikTok at Locked On Blue Jays, and hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. You guys have been knocking it out of the park. Carter, I guess we'll just start it here, man. It's 1-1. You've had a day to digest everything. How are you feeling?
Yeah, we had some interesting comments where it almost seemed like people thought we were mad at the Blue Jays and did not like what they did in the first 2 games. Obviously, you want to see the offense in the second game, but we talked about it before the series. If you split at the Rogers Center in the first 2 games, you get one out of from Blake Snell or Yamamoto. You're going to be okay with that. Again, when you win the first game, if you would have won that second game, that's a complete series changer that switches the narrative, and that really puts the Dodgers on their heels. But in totality, not a bad weekend, but it's the way that this entire series is going to go. The Blue Jays offense shows up. If they can score runs and get to the Dodger bullpen, that's probably how they're going to score runs. They're going to win a lot of those baseball games. But if you're going to let the Dodgers rotation go 7, 8, and then in this case, 9 innings, you're not really going to give yourself a very good opportunity to win that game. So I'm still confident in this team, still like the spot that we're in. Again, just hopefully see a little bit more consistency from the offense. But again, it's been 1 game. So I'm not going to, draw the panic button or anything right now. I think we're still in a pretty good spot here. No,
and I think what people, don't see from our perspective, and we hope that, we know you guys ride with us, right? But that was right after coming off of a loss. We recorded the podcast immediately after the game. We went live, obviously. So you guys saw our initial reactions. And I think in the World Series, it's not like we're completely, upset. Oh my goodness, it's over. It wasn't anything like that. It's just, when we sit there and break down the game a little bit, there are things that just can't happen moving forward. If you want to win this series, you can't give a hat tip to a pitcher. I don't care who it is. That can't happen. You have to find a way. That this is the World Series. And if you don't, this Dodgers team has really good starting pitching. So you're going to have to break through. That's it. And it's not like we were I'm mad. It's 1-1 in this series. This is it. You could call it 0-0, right? They're in the same position as they would have been. This team has to go out and win 3. I don't think you're so mad about that. Now it's how do they respond? So I guess, Carter, biggest takeaways from this weekend. What are you pulling at? What really what's something you saw that you think, hey, we either can take this into game 3 or hey, this cannot happen?
I really liked what we saw from both starting pitchers. Trey Savage not having his best stuff, obviously, but still able to grind those at-bats out. And then Kevin Gausman really going pitch for the majority of the game with Yamamoto. So I just looking at the starting pitching, at least for the first 2 games, those were the 2 that I was confident in. And those guys I figured at least could attempt to hang with some of the starters in that Dodger staff. Now, when we go to, we have Shane Bieber going game 4, which is a little bit interesting, and Max Scherzer going game 3. I think that will be something that might change that narrative a little bit. But yeah, very excited. From what we've seen this entire playoffs from Kevin Gausman, from Trey Savage. So the starting pitching being able to kind of limit the Dodgers offense, I think has been massive so far. in terms of the offense, like I can't really have one key takeaway because it was two completely different games. Like the first game went exactly according to game plan, and then the second game did not go according to the game plan. And then as for the bullpen, like Louis Varland, we talked a little bit about in the live stream. Again, if you see Louis Varland enough times, and with Louis Varland, it seems like every third, fourth, maybe fifth game, like there's going to be a blow-up start. It's just randomly with Louis Varland, the fastball, even though he throws 100, it just doesn't feel like it's playing that night. It seems like hitters are seeing it very well. And in that second game against the Dodgers, that felt like one of those nights once again. So I'm not too worried about Louis Varland, and it's been so far decent that the Toronto Blue Jays haven't really had to use a ton of their bullpen arms. You do use a few of your higher leverage guys in that second game. But overall, like there's not like a huge narrative other than maybe still for Dodgers fans thinking that the series was over before it even started. I think like the first game and then the second game, again, the Dodgers were going to win one. There was no way the Blue Jays were going to sweep a series. But now I think the narrative switching to being like, oh, the Dodgers have an easy win to, oh, this is going to be a very competitive series throughout the stretch.
Well, and Carter, I mean, and you saw the Blue Jays bats awaken. And I guess this is the biggest thing that we've talked about since game one of the playoffs for this Toronto Blue Jays team is you hit it in the nail on the head when it was, do the bats show up? That's it, right? Can you get bat to ball? And if the Blue Jays hitters come to play, this could go really well for the Toronto Blue Jays. But if they don't, they fall flat. This team falls flat. You can't rely on your starting pitching to beat their starting pitching. You need your offense to be the offense that they've been all season. And I think what we've seen in the rest of these playoff series with the Toronto Blue Jays is that the bats show up more than they don't. And that's how you win ball games. And so I'm not sitting here super, super concerned because, again, going back to something you said, I don't know if that was on Friday or Thursday or whatever it was. Every time you have a doubt about this team, they come back and prove to you why you shouldn't be doubting them.
I've said that pretty much in every single episode. You take any single one of them, honestly, for that one.
Yeah. So I am interested. And I think what we saw is in that first game is exactly what they have to continue to do. It's battle and 2 strike counts. It's foul pitches off. It's work the starters. Because when you do get to that bullpen, Carter, man, like the Dodgers don't have a ton of guys that they can rely on. And I'm not saying the Blue Jays have a ton of guys either, but I think it's definitely more guys than the Dodgers have in their pen. So again, there's a path to success here. And it really comes down to just these guys and can they show up and do the job that's needed to win this. But yeah, this team's success has always come from having a lineup that anybody at any moment could do the damage, could strike the little bit of fear, right? It could be, is it Addison Barger? Is it IKF and Andres Gimenez getting it started? Is it Vladimir Guerrero Jr. or George Springer? It could be any of these guys. And that's what's led this team's success. So we need to keep seeing that. We need to keep seeing that every guy in this lineup goes out and battles. If it is just working at, a deep count in the one at bat, or if it is that single that sparks a little bit of offense, it's all of these guys needing to do their part, Carter.
No, absolutely. Like the offense, we've seen it all year, whether it's Ernie, Clement, Addison, Barger, top to bottom, really 1 through 9. And when Bichette's in that order, it just makes it that much more deep as well. So Bichette will be starting game 3 at second base once again for the Toronto Blue Jays. So that is very nice to see. Hopefully that can be something that does kickstart the offense once again. But now with these next 3 games coming up, there will be at least 3 more games, whether the Dodgers win them, the Toronto Blue Jays win them, obviously with the series being 1-1. I just wanted to ask you and just kind of talk about this a little bit. There's 3 games in a row, obviously now, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, and they're all in LA. They're all at the Los Angeles Dodgers Stadium. For you, does that kind of switch, the game plan for the Toronto Blue Jays, like the way they deploy their bullpen, the way that maybe like you won't have as quick of a yank in your starting pitcher maybe in the 3rd game of the series? Does this kind of change the way you're managing the baseball game? And how do you think the Toronto Blue Jays are going to respond in the World Series going to the Dodger Stadium? That you obviously know the fan base is going to be going crazy. They're going to be loud, and it is going to be a hostile territory. So how do you think the Toronto Blue Jays are going to deal with that?
I don't think anything needs to change. I don't think the game plan needs to change at all. I think that we've seen that some of these guys can go out there on back-to-back days or even 3 days in a row and have success. You obviously need more than 3 or 4 innings from your starter, right? I mean, that's just, it needs to happen. I don't care what team you are. Nobody wants to go to their bullpen and have to use a more than half the game bullpen day. That's not what you want to happen. Now, is that a large ask for Max Scherzer being on the mound? Maybe. And so I'm a little bit concerned there, but I think that if Scherzer can give you 5, I think you're set up fairly well for this. If he gives you 2, 3, or 4, some panic may start to set in for me here. But again, this team doesn't have to win 3 games in LA. This team could realistically go out and win 1 in LA, bring it back to Toronto, and win at home. So I'm not overly concerned because I think in my head I have the expectation of 2 is great, 3 is even better, but 1 is doable still, right? Where I think in other situations, if you didn't have that home field advantage in game 6 and 7, you go and lose 2 of 3 and you're in full panic mode. I don't think that's, as Blue Jays fans, where we need to be here.
No, I think that's definitely fair. Like, obviously, you want to win 2, you want to win all 3, and then you want to, just win the World Series in LA. You don't necessarily want to go back to Toronto if you can get it done in LA. But I'm sure a lot of people would definitely be fine with 2 out of 3. You don't love 1 out of 3, but you do take it back to Toronto. You saw what happened in the ALCS. Again, these are different baseball teams, but you still got to feel confident anytime that the Toronto Blue Jays are playing at the Rogers Center. And I think there might be a little bit more emphasis on the quality of Max Scherzer starts because you have 3 games in a row. John Schneider has said that pretty much everyone out of the bullpen he's comfortable throwing 3 games in a row, so everyone should be available. Unless they throw, again, obviously like 50 pitches in a singular appearance. Sure. You got to see how the games do go. But if Max Scherzer is not able to go at least like 3-4 innings, I think 3 is the absolute minimum. With having 3 games in a row with the Toronto Blue Jays bullpen, and again, just a lack of depth in the Toronto Blue Jays bullpen. Like, you probably have Chris Bassitt in there. Eric Lauer might be a big deal now with the lefty matchups coming up, and just the need for pitchers in a mini 3-game series is almost the way I'm kind of looking at this.
Yeah, sure.
When you got 3 games in a row here. So I think there's a lot of emphasis on Max Scherzer being able to give you a little bit of length against this Los Angeles Dodgers team. And also, we'll talk about this a little bit more in the second segment, but I think that the Los Angeles Dodgers should be obligated to throw Clayton Kershaw at least at 1 inning in this game. We've got to see Max Scherzer and Clayton Kershaw battle out in the World Series for probably the last time, obviously, for their careers. There's no way they're both getting back again unless somehow Max resigns and Clayton Kershaw just decides he's not going to retire all of a sudden. But I think that would just be a monumental moment for baseball. The Dodgers make it happen.
Yeah, I was going to say battle of the unks, but it's not even that. It's like battle
combined age of 500 between the 2 of them.
Yeah, exactly. We're going to come back. We're going to talk a little bit about Bo Bichette, a little bit about Max Scherzer's start. Just Bo Bichette being back at second base this game. It's going to be very interesting, right? It's the narrative that keeps changing. So we'll talk about that as well, and obviously get you guys the Game 3 preview right after this. Today's episode also brought to you by FanDuel. The NBA is back, and there's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. There's so much to bet on right now. NBA, MLB, NFL, CFL, NHL, all of it is back in action. I said I wasn't the biggest NFL or NBA fan, but you know what? Getting back into sports betting helped me get back into the NBA. Even if you missed the start of a game or want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. It keeps every game exciting, especially when your team's making that late push. Trust me, with the Toronto Blue Jays, the amount of late-game comebacks they've had, get in on the action, and you might be able to make some money. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. So, Carter, as we continue on, Bo Bichette back at second base. There was a lot of questions around this situation. Game 1, he goes out and plays second base till about the 6th inning, gets the walk that sparks that big inning, gets pulled for IKF. A lot of questions saying, hey, is that too early? Why are we pulling him? We might need that bat back in the lineup. And then in Game 2, they don't start him. So immediately in my head, I start to think, okay, was this an injury problem, right? Is he very not comfortable at second base? Can he just not, is he going to hurt something more? But then they pinch hit him and put him in defensively anyway. So I'm now sitting there confused because it's like, why would you not want Bo Bichette's bat in there early? And there's going to be arguments that are saying, well, they wanted to do sort of the Addison Barger thing where you bring his bat in late and it sparks a bit of the offense. I'm sorry. You either play this guy or you don't play this guy because he's injured. Every other scenario, Bo Bichette should be playing. If he is able and capable, you want Bo Bichette's bat in the lineup way more than you want IKF's bat. And you can argue the defense, sure, that's a fair argument. But at the start of the game, that's the time to play Bichette. You can always substitute him out for IKF late in the game if you have a lead and you want to, shore up the defense. I'm fine with that. But to be honest with you, Carter, this doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. But I am happy that they're putting him back to start the game at second base.
Yeah, this whole situation is pretty strange with Bichette. I think it's obvious that he's clearly not healthy. There's no way that Bichette is even close to being 100% healthy. Whether it's on the bases, you see it in the field. He did make a nice play again up the middle at second base when he was out there. But even that play, looked like he was moving a little bit gingerly out there. So if I'm on the same fence as you, if you're going to play Bichette and you're going to throw him in the game anyway, I think you got to start him, especially early on in the games. And let's go back to game 2. Yamamoto hits George Springer, or George Springer gets on base for the first at bat, and then Nathan Lucas drives the ball into right field. You got runners on first and second. I know Vladdy comes up, and you would have Bichette in that 4 spot. I'm pretty confident that Bichette's putting a ball in play. Maybe he does get doubled up there. That is obviously a possibility, but I'm just a lot more comfortable with Bichette in that number 4 spot, and then having Kirk 5, Varsho 6, and then the rest of the dominoes kind of fall there. The only thing, this is the only reason I can think of why they wanted to pinch hit him. It's just so they have more control later on in the game, especially when it comes to the bottom of the order. If you have IKF in the 8th spot and he's going to come up in the 7th, 8th, 9th inning, maybe you want Bichette to come in at the bottom of the order, maybe get on base, turn the lineup over for George Springer, for those Nathan Lucas types, the Vladimir Guerrero Juniors. That's the only rationale I can see on that side of the fence. Yeah. But for me, I think at this point, you need your offense to score, and that's going to be your MO to win this series. So I just want Bichette in this lineup at any means necessary, whether it's at DH, even if it's at second base now. I'm at the point where you just need Bichette in the lineup.
Yeah, that's a fair point. I didn't really think of it like that, sort of as a utility hitter wherever you need him, right? So I don't think that's a crazy take. I just don't like it. I would just rather have
Bichette to get 2, 3, 4 at bats rather than 1 or maybe 2.
Yeah, no, exactly. I'm on the same boat as you. So, a little concerning there. I don't necessarily know where this takes us, because now if we see Bichette go out there and look even worse than he did in that first game, and again, didn't look horrible, made plays, but you could tell everything looked clunky, right? His movements looked clunky, his running looked clunky, even his throwing. Really, when he came up to make that throw, I was like, ooh, okay, he got it there. So yeah, I'm interested to see. I don't want to say concerned. I don't think I'm concerned. I think I'm more so confused. The situation is just confusing, but it seems like they have it figured out now, because I was really worried that they were going to go back to sort of the same game plan as game 2. Obviously, they see that didn't work, and they would like Bo's bat in the lineup, even if it is for Bo knowing the zone and his bat to ball skills, right? Bichette can get to a lot of balls a lot of other hitters can't. If it's late in the zone, he can sort of, push it the other way, and he's so good at that. But he can also be out in front on stuff. So just his hitting flexibility, I want to say, is such a big component to have in a ball game. But Carter, we talk lineup as well, obviously, here a little bit, because we'll talk Max Scherzer, we'll talk the game 3 preview in the next one, in the next segment here. Just how this lineup's been rolling out. Are you okay with them keeping things how they sort of are? We've seen how good Ernie's been. Would you want to see Ernie bumped up? Again, this is all hypothetical, just sort of your opinion. But would you like to see any other changes other than the Bichette play in all of this as well?
No, absolutely not. I think you're just overreacting after a game 2 where you had a phenomenal pitcher go against your baseball club. One of the best starts we've seen against the Toronto Blue Jays debatably all season long. So I think that's just, again, you're panicking at that point. If you're making these drastic moves after 1 loss, I just don't see the need for that. George Springer has been unbelievable at the number 1 spot. Nathan Lucas against righties, I love him in the number 2 spot there. Vladdy, we know you can't move him from number 3, or for some reason, the quality of at-bats are going to go down. Don't know why that happens, but for some reason, it's a thing, especially with Vladdy. Bo's got to be your number 4 guy. I think if you're going to do anything, maybe you fluctuate that a little bit depending on your confidence in Bo. For me, I want Bichette in that lineup. I don't care if he's 20% healthy. If that guy can swing a bat, I don't care if he's walking to the first base. I want him in that lineup. And then Kirk, Varsho, I still like that as well. Varsho, some of the swings sometimes make me want to drop him in the order, but I think with the upside he carries, the power bat, if he does run into one, you hope that there's runners on base when that happens, and hopefully you get a multi-home run, 2-run home run, 3-run, and then maybe a grand slam that Varsho has done a few times this year. So no, I don't think you change anything whatsoever. I think you just kind of keep rolling out and stick to what has worked for this baseball team all season long.
Yeah. We're going to come back. We're going to talk Max Scherzer. We're going to talk Glass now. Game 3, the preview, predictions, everything. It's back to regularly scheduled programming for us, Carter. We're not in no mode fits today. So it's nice to be back. We'll be back with segment 3 right away. Today's episode also brought to you by Game Time. NFL season is back, and honestly, there's nothing better than being at the stadium surrounded by fans cheering on your team. But let's be honest, getting tickets can be a hassle. Between the queues, the login screens, and the prices jumping at checkout, it's frustrating. That's why I use Game Time, the app that gives the advantage back to fans. Game Time is fast, easy, and backed by the Game Time guarantee. You'll always get 100% authentic tickets delivered on time at the best price. Plus, all fees are included, so the price you see is the price you pay. It's my favorite part of the app. I don't like getting to the checkout and, oh no, there's a $20, $30 fee got tacked on top of it. Game Time doesn't do that. The price you see is legitimately the price you pay. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Game Time today. So, Carter, Mad Max on the mound versus the baby giraffe in Tyler Glasnow, the 6'8" monster. Carter, every time this guy goes to the mound, I don't know if it's just me or not, he's just an enormous human being. Sort of is like when you see Aaron Judge standing next to anybody at like first base. You're just like, holy smokes, this guy's massive. I'm excited for Max, to be honest. I'm nervous but excited because I think we know how electric he is on the mound. It's just, is he going to have this stuff again? I'm a little bit concerned. John Schneider in some interviews today or yesterday, I guess it would have been, said that he's going to avoid the mound visits for him. And I don't blame him for that. I don't know if he wants to be in the news the next day of, Max Scherzer kills John Schneider on the mound because he was going to take him out of a baseball game. How do you feel about Max?
I'm pretty confused on why they decided to switch Shane Bieber and Max Scherzer. Like, that was a little bit unexpected for me.
Yeah.
Again, the reasoning that they did that, I'm assuming, is because, like, Max Scherzer, you saw what he did in the last big game that he pitched in. You've seen what he has done throughout his career. And honestly, Shane Bieber has not really looked that good throughout this postseason, in my opinion. He looked good against the Mariners, against the Yankees. Not that great. And then in his last start as well, not the greatest stuff from Bieber either. So you got one good start out of 3. Like, that's not really what I love. Don't love Max Scherzer that much more either, because they literally have the exact same pitch mix. Again, it's going to be the sliders to the righties and then the curveballs to the lefties. It's going to be tough. Like, Max Scherzer against Shohei Ohtani is going to be something that I am definitely nervous for. And the way this kind of works out now is Max Scherzer, if this would go to a game 7, it probably would be Max Scherzer as your game 7 guy. So I thought that was a little bit interesting as well. Maybe at this point they trust Max Scherzer a little bit more than Shane Bieber. Maybe John Schneider's just terrified of Max Scherzer. And Max said he was pitching game 3, and John Schneider just said, okay, sorry, boss, you got this one. Not sure what happened there, but you got to be confident. Didn't think that I'd be saying we'd be having Max Scherzer pitch for the Toronto Blue Jays in the World Series in a pretty monumental game. Again, going up 2-1 compared to going down 1-2. Pretty big moment there. So excited, but also very nervous for what's going to happen with Max Scherzer, especially in the first inning. If he gets out of the first inning, I think the confidence is going to shoot up. But Shohei Ohtani, Mookie Betts, and Freddie Freeman, 2 lefties, especially in that first inning, that is going to be a tough outing. At least tough start for Max Scherzer, but that's going to be the difference. If he gets through that first inning, my confidence is going to be through the roof.
Carter, I'm gonna pitch you an idea, and you just let me know what you think about this. We know that Max isn't very good in the first innings, notoriously all season long. Why not an opener? Do you hate it?
See, I think it's not as much as that. It's the first inning, and Maxie's
no, it's about that it's 2 lefties, Shohei Ohtani and Freddie Freeman.
And I also just think it's just him trying to settle into a game. It doesn't matter if he's coming in the first inning, the third inning, or the fourth inning. It's the first inning that he's going to pitch in that baseball game. It looks like he's having a little bit of trouble settling in, whether it's the command. The velocity looks always good at the start of the game. It just looks like there's always 1 or 2 pitches in the first couple of batters that do find the middle of the plate. So yeah, I don't think it's like, he sees it's the first inning. That opener is not going to solve anything. It's just the first inning. Max Scherzer is the least in control of his pitches and looks the least confident throughout his entire appearance.
Yeah,
that's kind of where I'm at.
And no, that's exactly what I'm saying. Is that? But would you rather have Max Scherzer's iffy inning come against Betts, Ohtani, and Freeman, or anybody else? Right. So maybe that's something you do to try to avoid that. So when he goes back to face them later on in the game, he's at his best, or what his best is going to be that game.
Honestly, I don't mind that. Now that, you phrase it like that, like Mason Fluharty maybe as a little opener with, putting Shohei Ohtani in his back pocket to start the game in LA. Like, I don't mind it. I don't think they're going to do it. Like, Max Scherzer probably wouldn't be happy if he wasn't able to go out there in the first inning anyway. Like, I think that's just, like maybe a little bit of an ego thing. Maybe it's like, I'm starting game 3, like game 3 is mine. I want full control of it. So I don't see that happening, but honestly, don't mind that. If they went with Mason Fluharty, I don't want Louis Varland going out in the first inning necessarily.
Exactly,
but if it would be Fluharty, I don't actually mind that prospect. That's an interesting conversation to have. I don't think it's going to happen, but let us know if you actually like that and see if John Schneider would, put a little bit, make a risk. You got to be risky in the World Series and throw out Mason Fluharty. There's no way he's going to do that.
He's not. It's not going to happen. But I think if you look at everything of what, again, you have the entire season to tell you exactly what guys are, right? And yes, guys can step up in big moments. Max Scherzer did that in his last game. But you also want to maximize everything of what you have. And I think not having to face Ohtani and Freeman and Mookie in the first inning for Max Scherzer might go a long way. But again, let me know what you guys think. I
look at though too is like, would you rather have Mason Fluharty go against Shohei? Because that's the matchup that I honestly like the best out of all of our lefties. Would you rather have that happen where maybe Shohei comes up in like later in the game, there's runners on, and it's maybe a bigger moment? Because in that first inning, Shohei Ohtani's coming up with no runners on. Like there's no possible way that there can be a runner on in that first inning. Obviously, when you're leading up the inning, and leading off the game. So in that sense, like would you want to burn debatably your best lefty out of the bullpen right now? For, again, an at-bat that might not mean as much as one that might happen later on in the baseball game. So there's always a bunch to consider, and that's why I think they are going to do it. But definitely a thought-provoking question that was interesting to get into. But I kind of want to go into the other side of things, the Tyler Glasnow aspect of this as well. For me, out of the 4 starting pitchers on the Dodgers, again, they're all very good, but just based off of everything that goes into this start with Glasnow, I think this is the best opportunity for the Toronto Blue Jays to score runs, because with the history, Tyler Glasnow being a Tampa Bay Ray for a very long time, he has made 11 starts against the Toronto Blue Jays over his career. Only 5 of them, though, have been in the last or since 2021. So again, with the divisions, the way they kind of switched up the scheduling, there's not as many games in division. So when he was with the Rays, wasn't playing them as much, then obviously got traded away from the Rays. So just not playing the Toronto Blue Jays as much in division. But you have the experience with Tyler Glasnow, and then looking at some of the playoff numbers as well, like not the greatest in terms of overall like career postseason numbers. Just pulling him up here. This season, he has been really good, but I mean, everyone on the Dodgers starting rotation has been really good. A 0.68 ERA over 13 and a third innings, 18 strikeouts, a 1.13 whip. But a career postseason, he has a 4.58 ERA, 79 strikeouts, and a 1.41 whip, in his career. So with Tyler Glasnow, this is a guy that if he's going to, again, be bad, it's probably going to be because of his command. It's probably going to be because he's a little bit erratic. Just going over his last 3 starts, the 3 starts that he has made in this postseason, he walked 2 hitters in his first start, which was 1 2/3 innings. In his second last start, he walked 3 hitters in 6 innings pitched. And then his most previous start, he walked 3 hitters in 5 2/3. So this guy has the ability to walk hitters, an over 11% walk rate. That's the 7th percentile in baseball. So he isn't necessarily going to be in the zone a lot of the time. The fastball plays around 96, but with the extension, has 7.6 feet of extension. That's 100th percentile. So that means he is getting very far down the mound, close to home plate. So that fastball sits at 96, but honestly, it plays like 98 to 99. So it's going to be a little bit tough for Toronto Blue Jays hitters. That fastball will play a little bit more. But what you're going to see is against righties, you're going to see a steady diet of 4-seamers, then the sinkers inside, obviously, and then the slider outside. And then against the lefties, you're going to see a lot of 4-seamers as well, but probably the curveball will be his strikeout pitch. So for the Toronto Blue Jays, I think what you got to do is you got to, again, obviously hunt your pitch. Like what we're seeing a lot so far in this series is a lot of fastballs high and inside, especially of Vladdy, especially to George Springer, like the Blue Jays' best hitters on their team. So that might be early on the count. That might be something you want to look for. And then just location and a pitch. Like I don't care if it's curveball high and inside, fastball low, doesn't matter. But you really, I think early on in the game, don't necessarily like early on in account, especially sell out for that one pitch. Maybe get aggressive. If it's in your spot, I like being aggressive early on the count if it's the pitch that you like. But in totality, if it's not the perfect pitch, maybe make Tyler Glasnow work a little bit. Get that pitch count up because we know how volatile that this Dodgers bullpen is.
Yeah, I mean that's been a key to the game for this entire series.
Everyone. Yeah, that's just the key to the series.
That's what you have to do. That is literally the biggest key you can come up with is, hey, make them throw pitches. And if that means taking a couple extras that, hey, maybe I would have liked to take a cut at that one, but it's a little bit on the black, probably not the pitch I'm hunting. Yeah, absolutely. Maybe that's not the pitch you need to be swinging at. So some good points there, Carter. I do want to get into your prediction as well. You can give me just LA, right? So the 3 games here in LA. How are you feeling this is going to happen? What would you like to see happen? But yeah, what's your honest thoughts?
Honestly, I would love to see 2 out of 3. I think that they're going to have some trouble with Shohei tomorrow. So I think this would be a very big game for the Blue Jays to win. I do like their matchup against Snell. I don't think Snell had his best stuff in game 1, but I think if you're going to win a game in LA, this would be a massive one to win. So I'm hoping that they go 2 out of 3, and my hope would be that they win the Glasnow game. Again, I hope they win the Shohei game, but if they lose that one and then beat Blake Snell, you're up 3-2 going back to Toronto. That's a very good spot to be in. But if you're only going to win 1 game in this series, I would honestly want them probably to lose the next 2 and then win the 3rd one. And you got a little bit of momentum going back to the Rogers Center. And hopefully you can play off that. But ideally they go 2 out of 3 and they started off with a win against Tyler Glasnow.
Yeah, that's obviously me and you talk too much because that's exactly what I have. And it's probably the most obvious, right? If you're hoping and praying that the Toronto Blue Jays are going to do something, it's going to be winning at least 2 here in LA. And then you get to come back and hopefully win the World Series back in Toronto. But it's a lot of hoping and praying and a lot of baseball to come in between. As always, thank you guys so much for continually watching this podcast, listening to this podcast, whatever it is. We've been trying to get you guys as much as we can. It's been crazy. It's been fun. It's been electric. And I can't wait for this week, the final week of baseball in 2025. So Carter, my man, anything else before we click out of here for the night?
No, just going to be staring at the clock until we get to 7 hour time, at least. I think it's 8 o'clock Eastern. But we're going to be, waiting, sitting around until the Toronto Blue Jays come on. Hopefully they can get their advantage back in this series against the Dodgers in the World Series. Thank you guys for watching, and we will talk to you guys again tomorrow.